This episode is brought to you by CuriosityStream. Get free access to Nebula, the streaming platform built by all of your favorite YouTubers, when you sign up at CuriosityStream at the link below. Of all the movies I'd love to live inside of, The Red Shoes ranks very near the top of the list. I think Roger Ebert said it best when he wrote that you don't watch it, you bathe in it. It's an overwhelming fantasia of color and light, and a movie that only looks more and more vibrant the older that it gets. If you haven't seen it, it's like the original version of Black Swan or Whiplash, an exploration of artistic obsession and its damaging effects.
Why do you want to dance?
Why do you want to live?
I don't know exactly why, but I must.
That's my answer too.
It's a film about passion that exudes passion from every one of its frames. And that's in large part because its writer-director dynamic duo, Michael Powell and Emmerich Pressburger, wanted something less realistic and restricted for the overall look of the film, something freer and fantastical, and that didn't resemble the more conventional Hollywood dance films of the day. To bring that vision to life, they hired painter Hein Heckroth for the role of production designer, and pretty much gave him carte blanche to let his imagination run wild. And the effect was something wholly expressionistic, most clearly seen in the film's central 17-minute ballet sequence. The audience disappears, the spotlight fades, and a subjective world beyond the confines of the stage opens up. To conceptualize the sequence, Heckroth put together an animatic from nearly 200 individual sketches, and in them you can see the kind of all-out fantasy he was going for. But perhaps the most striking element from these sketches, and of course the film itself, is the explosion of color seen at every turn. Powell and Pressburger were no strangers to experimenting with color in an adventurous way. The Red Shoes is very much an extension of the sensuality infused in every frame of Black Narcissus, and the split in a matter of life and death between a pearly black and white heaven and a technicolor earth. It's a heightened use of color. It isn't reality that's captured and presented, but an impression of it. Heckroth designed it, but cinematographer Jack Cardiff was the one who captured it. And he did so through Technicolor's legendary 3-strip process. A process still drooled over for the sharpness and saturation of its colors. The 3-strip process centered around this 500-pound beast, an absolutely massive camera that housed a beam splitter inside to simultaneously expose 3 strips of film at the same time. 1 strip sensitive to green light, 1 to blue light, and 1 to red. After production, each of the 3 negatives were printed onto special matrix films which were soaked in a complementary color dye: cyan for red, magenta for green, and yellow for blue. Each were then brought into contact with a 4th black and white film strip which acted as a receiver to absorb the color dye from each of the original 3. All in all, a highly complicated, highly technical, and expensive process, but one whose results speak for themselves. It's easy to see why The Red Shoes color photography is cited among the best of all time. All 4 of them worked together to achieve a look that was occasionally intense, occasionally campy, but was always controlled. It didn't spring to life and then remain pitched at 100 the entire time, not like the later P&P film The Tales of Hoffman, whose candy store tones are so oversaturated that they're borderline garish. On the contrary, the color in The Red Shoes is treated as much of a character as anyone in the cast list. It develops, it grows, and alters as the film progresses. Just as the central ballet blends reality and fantasy together until they're indistinguishable, the story of the film progresses further into fantasy. And as it does, the color palette mirrors this, by shifting from the muted, earthy, and sometimes muddy tones under a cloudy English sky, to vibrant blues and yellows under the bright light of Monte Carlo. You can see this kind of direction at every turn and in every aspect. Consider this moment here just before Vicky is cast as the ballet's lead. It's staged like something out of a fairy tale, an ascension to stardom. Because of course, it is. For Vicky, the moment is a dream, it's pure magic. Consider Lermontov, the obsessive and domineering ballet director, who apart from this scene is never seen dressed like this. When he's alone, he's often lit in low light with tones of blue and gray, giving him a vampiric sort of quality, something matched by the intensely pale white of his skin under the bright sun. And in his moment of rage, he's surrounded by mahogany red. That is, of course, as the title suggests, the most striking color on display. It's been said that no film process since has matched the quality of Technicolor red, and I don't find that hard to believe. And there are as many interpretations of its meaning as there are stories that make it a central image. It's a scarlet letter, it's sexuality, it's anger, it's rage. It's the color of seduction, the corrupting force that preys upon Vicky's character in the dance. A character intentionally adorned in a contrasting virginal white dress. But something I noticed when rewatching the movie recently, however, was that there's a fairly restricted use of the color throughout the film. You'll rarely find it within the lighting or the set design of most scenes. Even during the dance of the red shoes, there are only a handful of shots that are drenched in it. For the majority of the film, you'll see it in small doses, in the background and in small corners of the screen. A striped dress, a passing bus, the rose in a conductor's tuxedo, and of course in the fiery red of Moira Shearer's hair. And I'd like to think that this was a deliberate choice. A lot of the great directors, particularly in this period of time, tended to use red in a limited way. It may be a strange comparison to make to the red shoes, but look at the films of Japanese master Yasujiro Ozu, who didn't shoot a lot of films in color, but in the ones he did was famously always dotting the frame with some bit of red. In the costumes, in the sets, in the props. Actually, way more often than not, a carefully staged red tea kettle. And like Ozu, Powell, Pressburger, Heckroth, and Cardiff probably didn't mean anything dramatic by such restricted placement. It certainly helps lend a dynamic charm to any given composition, a kind of visual completeness, and that's very likely the full story. But I like that it's always there, lurking somewhere in the background, like the red shoes themselves. Even when she's not wearing them, they're always dancing around in Vicky's mind, tempting her every step. All of this together created a thoroughly dreamlike visual landscape. It's not reality, but somewhere next to it. And it's a gorgeous case study in how the screen can be treated as less a document and more of a canvas. And about thinking of color as a visual effect in the same way you would with any model or miniature or computer-generated image. Because color is a visual effect, one that can mesmerize to no end and that you may just want to live inside of. Just walk the other way if you see a pair of shoes like this. They're bad news. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you probably know that I'm always trying to strike a balance in the topics that I choose. Film history is such a fascinating and rich subject full of new avenues to always discover. But one of the problems with that is that YouTube's algorithms tend to favor videos that only talk about the most popular films being released. And that's why I want to tell you about Nebula, a subscription-based streaming platform developed by and featuring creators like myself. It's a place where we can experiment with different kinds of content without the headaches of demonetization and the effects of the YouTube algorithm. It's a place where you can not only watch my videos ad-free, but it's a place where you can also check out some really incredible original content. One of my current favorites is the ongoing series Working Titles, where a host of your favorite creators take turns breaking down the opening title sequence of one of their favorite television shows. If you enjoyed my video about what made the look of the red shoes so stunning, you'll love Working Titles. But it gets even better. CuriosityStream, the home to thousands of top-quality documentaries and nonfiction shows, has partnered with Nebula to create a bundle. So if you sign up for CuriosityStream using the link below, you'll get Nebula for free. 2 streaming services for the price of 1. So much amazing content to dive into, and by signing up, you'll be supporting independent creators like myself. So head over to the link in the description to sign up today. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you next time.